right, and perfect segue right into the next part, which is the issues. And so we have a series of questions. And like I said before, in case you missed it, these were questions that were already made in advance, and they were given to all the candidates. They just don't know which four we're going to ask today. And so the first question, they also don't know the order to respond in. I'll tell you the order for the first one. So Joe, you'll be responding first, and then we'll have Karen, Vicky, Mayra, and Tom. And so the first question is this. As you've been meeting with residents, what are the issues that they bring up the most often? And what is your take on each of those issues? Is there something that a city council member can do about the issues? And what would you do? And so that question will go to you first, Joe, and then to you next, Karen.
All right, cool. I love going first. Well, the number one issue for District 5 is a new fire station. I've spoken with so many residents. We've called thousands of times and sent out, mailers, and I've just been out in the community. Even this morning I was out on Gibson Road 102, just waving to folks. And so through my time communicating with them, but prior to that, knowing the issue 20 years ago that the developers had promised a new fire station in Spring Lake. And that promise was never kept. And so my number one issue is to build a fire station in Spring Lake and not relocating Fire Station 3, where Food for Less is at, over to the Willow Springs Elementary School, where the empty lot's at. We have to have it, Station 3 there, and then keep Fire Station, we create a fourth fire station in Spring Lake. And the second issue I just encountered the other night from a group of students that were hosting a registration drive at La Fogata. They were telling me that, they feel like the city council wasn't listening to them after one of their students was shot to death here in town by, groups that are unknown. So we've had multiple shootings this year, and there have been 0 arrests. And for me to know that that's a high priority from the community, and for the city council not to take action, not to really give them a time of day when there's serious issues. So for instance, there's other issues on homelessness. I just spoke to a resident that wanted to leave Woodland from Spring Lake, and I told him not to leave. Give me a chance, vote for me. I could address the homeless issue with the community mindset, not just what I got thinking about, but what the community wants. And so I like to create focus groups where community members can come and join these committees on specific issues.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Nice. And so same question goes to you, Karen.
Thank you. So the two issues that have come up most frequently for me when I've been talking to residents have been the pandemic and the economic issues surrounding the pandemic. We're not really served by a city-by-city approach. In our area, we really need a regional approach. So part of our COVID-19 plan must be to increase our advocacy. We need to support our local businesses and bring them back even stronger than they were before. That's why a downtown revitalization and transformation is part of my platform. I've been fortunate enough to witness a downtown transformation through the eyes of my parents. When I was growing up in Livermore, which is in the Bay Area, the downtown was abysmal. Businesses were boarded up. They had trouble staying. It was, my friends and I even joked that it was where businesses went to die. It was pretty bad. But in 2006, Livermore began a process to transform their downtown. They spent a year doing community outreach and buy-in, and 2 more years and countless community meetings in which my parents were part of to draft a plan, and then several years of construction after that. Now downtown Livermore is absolutely gorgeous. They have slanted parking, shade structures covered in greenery, outdoor dining. Now people spend the entire day in downtown Livermore. Restaurants are almost always full, even on weekdays at lunch. And people come from all over the Bay Area too. So the tax base has skyrocketed. I believe Woodland can do this too. It takes a willingness to be creative, to work together, and to create a common vision that comes from the community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Vicky. And Vicky, before you begin, you're still on mute. That's the new saying of 2020.
I'm sorry. Well, just a reflection of the times that we're living in. I think COVID-19 has impacted a lot of our residents. So I think that that is still in the forefront of the people that I've spoken to in District 4 and within our community. So it's not just a Woodland issue, but obviously it's a statewide, nationwide issue that we have to address. I think the fact that we have the eviction moratorium that the City Council has promoted is a good thing for local residents to know that despite their income, despite the situation that they're enduring, that there is some protection for them to continue to live in their home or their rental property, that they aren't going to be homeless, that we're not going to add to the issue of homelessness. So I think that that's really in the forefront for most residents, whether you're directly impacted by COVID, which I think most of us are. The fact that we're meeting here over Zoom demonstrates that it is impacting us even in similar and small ways. And yet for some families, it's about putting food on the table. It's about making sure that they have a place to live. So the other issue that I think people have also mentioned is that they are concerned about the urban sprawl of our community. You know, they still want to have that hometown feel. They appreciate Woodland's hometown feeling, and yet are concerned about the growth in Woodland. So I think that's another issue that we know that there's a need for affordable housing, but then there's also the fear of losing our sense of small town and growth. So I think that those are kind of the two issues that I feel that residents have brought to the forefront. It's the dealing with COVID, and then the idea of affordable housing and the growth that will continue to maintain Woodland's hometown feeling. So thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. I'm gonna, before we move to Mayra to answer the question, I'll say it one more time. It has been about 7 minutes since I said it. So the question is this. As you've been meeting with residents, what are the issues that they bring up the most often? And what is your take on each of those issues? Is there something that a city council member can do about the issue, and what would you do? And so Mayra, this is your question.
All right, thank you. So first of all, I want to thank all of the residents of District 5 for being so welcoming as I've been out knocking on doors respectfully, and also calling folks. I've gotten the opportunity to email and also participate in some neighborhood groups. Thank you for being open and welcoming to me. Some of the issues that have come to mind, there's 3 topics. So public safety, of course, is a big concern. Early on in the campaign, I met with a group of community members out in the neighborhood. And we talked a lot about access to adequate response times for medical emergencies. So as we experience a medical emergency, it's important that residents are able to receive timely care, right? So whether that's basic life support that's provided from the fire department, or a serious emergency, or a crisis that would be supported by the county's AMR ambulance service. That's a top of mind. You know, that's one of those things that keeps folks up at night. And certainly if my family or any of my neighbors were to have an emergency, we need to make sure that the first responders are engaged to ensure that as this area of town populates, they have the adequate resources to meet the needs. And I think that that's a phased approach. So of course the Spring Lake fire station is necessary. I look forward to collaborating with council members and with city staff to develop a fiscal plan. It's been in the plan. I think it's time to now flesh that out to see where that funding is going to come from, identify it, and move forward with it. In the meantime, however, if somebody's having a medical emergency, it needs to be addressed. So partnering with the YOLO emergency services and AMR to ensure that get their feedback, get their response rates, and engage them to ensure that they are able to meet the needs. Additionally, there's a lot of traffic areas that are of concern. So as there's many intersections that don't have stops, so it creates a lot of issues for children that are out playing or just folks that are driving around. There's a lot going on, and you get to a four-way intersection.
Thank you, Mayra.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, no worries. It is really tough to fit in responses into 120 seconds.
Just one question. I'm looking for Brian's timer, and I can't see it.
Okay, so real quick, if you, I don't know if you can see Brian's thumbnail. Do you see his picture right now when he's showing you a yellow piece of paper?
I see just blurry.
Right. So that blurry yellow thing is your warning.
Got it.
Yeah. And then he'll show you a red blurry thing, and then that means time is up. There it is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All
no
right.
worries. Yeah. So I count to 10 in my head after I see red, and then I'll say thank you. That'll be my plan.
Thank
All
you.
right. Yeah. And so with that brief interlude, Tom, we're going to you with the same question.
Thank you, Eric. Well, clearly COVID is a top of mind for most citizens in the community. Certainly the impact on the business community. It's a continuing tragedy. People are trying to work through it. Our council's done a number of things. As was mentioned, we extended a moratorium both for residents and the residential situations as well as commercial situations. But we approved parklets on the streets to allow for outdoor dining. You've seen them, they're actually quite nice. But we closed First Street a couple times for outdoor dining. We're very flexible in what we can do and trying to help everybody, but we're in a statewide, national, international situation. Second thing, I hear a great deal of concern about speeders in the community, scofflaw driving, very disturbing in the neighborhoods. It seems to be on the rise. I don't know if it's part of the response to people being shut in all the time or just it's gotten out of control. We're working by keeping police deployed for trying to identify this kind of behavior and to stop it. Also, I'm working on traffic calming measures. So we're going to be putting in 4 speed bumps on Pendergast each block, 2 on Bartlett, and that's just the beginning. We have also been working on Buena Tierra, particularly in the older parts of town. These streets were designed kind of pre-traffic calming. The newer neighborhoods were actually beautifully designed with roundabouts and lots of features to hopefully keep traffic slowing down, including speed bumps. Homelessness, it kind of dropped away with COVID in its ascendancy, but now people are starting to be very excited again about homelessness. I'm proud of the fact that we found through a lot of hard work, including a lot of private donated money, over $10 million to build a 100-bed shelter out at 102 in Beamer, and that'll be in service fairly soon. The last thing I'll mention is we really need a second swimming pool. A lot of people are on me about that. And we now have a contract with the school district for a 99-year lease for land south of Pioneer High School. So they'll have on that side of town, a swimming pool facility just like the Woodland High School does on the other side. And we've isolated $1.5 million in reserve funds now for that pool, but we're looking at a cost of $7 to $9 million.
Thank you, Tom. All right, so that concludes our first question.